What is Bay? I don't understand what the Bay is.
Don't know.
We live? Cottage Grove, wave. Hey, all right. Okay, so we're live, huh? All right.
We are, and I'm on TV. Oh my God.
You're on TV. Smile for the camera, Dean. All right, we're going to start off. This is going to be controversial again, but oh well. I have academic freedom.
And that's why we're here.
And that's why you're here. Okay, so a field. And I'm going to be talking in the physics sense. Okay? A field is basically a defined space with particular energy. And I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. There's a more detailed explanation. But I want to point out something to you. Today, in your breathing, you will breathe a column of air about 14 miles high. That's what a normal human breathes. 7 to 14 miles high, which is the extent of the atmosphere basically around you, 2 feet, column of air. That's how much air you breathe. All right? It's a lot. But, there's a lot. There's only, 7 billion of us, so there's plenty of atmosphere. Here's the point I wanted to make about that. That's kind of cosmic-y, new agey or whatever, but here you go. In today's air, you will breathe 1 molecule of oxygen that has been breathed by every other human being that's ever lived.
Gross.
Not gross. That's cool.
Gross.
Pick your favorite human being. Okay? You have an actual physical connection with them, and also all the ones you don't like. But pick the ones you do like. All right? So the idea of that is that you have a physical connection to every other human being that's ever lived, at least in 1 molecule of oxygen. Now, it gets constantly recycled, so you're not going to probably encounter more than 1 or 2, but you're going to encounter at least 1 molecule of oxygen that was breathed by every other human being before. Now, sitting in this room, assuming you're not sick and that you have, normal body temperature of 98.6, you are heating up the atmosphere. Okay? So you are creating an infrared heat signature, right? That's heating up the room. And you notice this when you're in a small room, there's no air conditioning, it gets hot, right? Well, yeah, bodies making heat, breathing, air gets stale. That's why we have HVAC systems. So it's, where am I going with this? You also put out a magnetic field from your heart. Okay? That is, the smallest part of it is 3 feet in every direction, so basically arm's length. And the largest part goes out to about 12 feet, depending on a number of factors. But let's say it's, you are all sitting close enough to each other that you will interact with your magnetic fields within about 15 minutes. All right? Especially if I tell you to breathe deeper and you do those breathing exercises that I taught you earlier, in the class or whatever. So here's what I mean by a field, okay? Where we left off was addictive organizations, okay? And what happens in an addictive organization is an organization is a group of people, and they can act just like an active addict or alcoholic. Okay? Simply by having one or more codependents or active addicts or alcoholics in them. The whole organization starts acting like one. And they will do crazy stuff. So as part of my training you as civilians, you need to know that when you walk into a certain situation and you start feeling weird, it's not in your head. It's not. You're picking up, as we say in the jazz community, you're picking up the vibe, the vibration, the energy field, right? And it's subtle, but you can pick up on it because, just like for those of you who have, dealt drugs out there in the audience, I know none of you have, right? You can tell if somebody's mouthing off to you whether they're a narc or not. How do you know that? Just because they're acting stupid or trying to get you in trouble? No, you have a feel. Cop vibe or whatever it is. What is that street sense that you get? It's another vibe. You're basically picking up on a level of information. All right? Now, when I talk about, theoretically, we should be all right, so when I talk about a field, define space with a particular energy. I'm going to draw, basically draw, remember I'm a psych major, not an art major. How about that? This cube, within this cube, three-dimensional space, there are other dimensions, but three-dimensional space has different types of energy moving through it constantly. And because, at least through your heart, you are picking up a magnetic field. Things are affecting your magnetic field. You can pick up the vibe. You can feel it. So the heart actually has three levels. One, it's a physical pump. Two, it makes neurotransmitters. It puts out neurotransmitters and receives neurotransmitters on its own. And three, it's an electrical system that puts out a magnetic field. So in terms of introducing you to addictive behavior, one of the things we look at within addictive organizations is certain organizations function as if they were an actively practicing addict or alcoholic. These organizations produce addicts and codependents. So a codependent is anybody who's in a primary relationship with an addict or alcoholic. Primary relationship could be spouse, it could be child, it could be coworker, any number of things. So in the field, when we used to professionally, we still professionally refer to addicts and alcoholics as chemically dependent. Anybody within a relationship with them is a codependent. Because they may not even use, but they have to adjust to the addict or alcoholic's insanity. And if it keeps happening, so understand that when I put normal in quotes, normal is what happens regularly. See, we used to say that normal is symptom-free. We're like, who is that? Who's normal these days? What does that mean? Normal people. Oops. Glad this is solid state, because the clip fell off. Okay. All right, so these addictive organizations produce addicts and codependents. So you suspect any organization which sells addictive products or services. So definitely your drug companies, definitely your alcohol companies, definitely the cartels, gambling casinos. Also, any organization built along government or corporate lines. Okay? Because in a professional environment, a field this is probably one of the things that's going to get me called a racist, but hey, here's what it is. What is it in Western culture that says a professional organization, a professional means you can't feel and you can't express emotion? Who is that? Except heterosexual white men. Oh, we don't feel, we're professional. And if you're a woman working in that environment and you have feelings because there's some BS going on, oh, you're just so emotional. They put you down for telling the truth. What kind of truth-telling organization is that? And, it's not just white heterosexual men that do that. Everybody does that because we've had to all conform to that system. Right? We have to. So, any organization built along government or corporate lines, any organization with a high percentage of codependents, active or recovering addicts, so that means government, military, police, fire, healthcare, education. Yeah, I said education. Yeah, LCC is not exempt from that. Remember, I'm a treatment person working in this environment. My predecessor relapsed. Within 6 months, I understood why he relapsed. Oh, wow. You got people coming to work drunk, and people just work around them and let them happen. Wait, that's against federal law. Well, we don't. Should I go off on? Yeah, I'll go off on this. I'll give you examples. Why not? Why not? So, any drug counselor working for any treatment agency, we have drop-dead UAs. If you look funny, you pee in a bottle. Because we think you've relapsed. And you might not, but you have to basically pee clean, right? Without, the fancy drinks that people do pee clean, without Wizinators, And of course, any drug counselor worth their salt can tell whether somebody's loaded and get an admission from them, right? So I'm used to working in an environment where you come to work sober, right? So how many of you students would be okay with your instructor coming to work drunk? No. Come on, you paid close to $300 for this class. You want somebody on the top of their game. Unless their job description really reads drunk actor. But no, you can't do that, right? So in the first 6 months that I came here, I would get calls like, oh, well, can I, this guy, Joe came to work, had a little too much to drink, he's a painter. So keep him off of the golf carts driving. No, he shouldn't be here. Why are you even calling me up? How long has this been going on? This is 20 years ago. Right? So, I could see where my predecessor would relapse. But for me, to be frank, I'm going to get off the racist things. Like, okay, I'm a black man in a mostly white organization. I have to operate at a standard of higher expectations because they're going to be looking at me. So my game has to be really tight. And I'm thinking, why is this normal behavior to drink and come to work? Let alone people be stumbling out of the bushes, smoking weed on the nature trail and think that's normal behavior. Oh, I got a card. What's happening with your learning? Are you retaining anything? Yeah, you can pass the class loaded, but why would you want to? You should take a look at that. Right? So knowing people are like that are in class, not this class, but in past classes, right? That makes me codependent too. So I have to speak the truth. Now, speaking the truth gets you in trouble because people are not comfortable with it. So you have to decide. I'm giving you survival tips. You don't mind that, right? Okay? What's the difference between a madman and a saint? Huh? No, a saint repents? No. They may see the exact same reality, and the madman will just blab it out to anybody. And they'll be considered crazy. The saint knows who to talk to and what to say to whom, even if it's nothing. Okay? I'm training you to be saints. What do you say to whom? You're fairly safe if you stay on the medical standard. Okay, you're shaking. When's the last time you had something to drink? 11 hours ago? Okay, that explains the shaking. Probably you don't want to go to class. Right? Very common here. Because people have had absolutely no education about how alcohol works as a drug. So they think going cold turkey, oh, I can't smell like alcohol in class. Yeah, right. You might not even be drunk at this point, but it's still coming out of your pores. So it's in the field, which means if you're in that class, you're a codependent with this addict in recovery. Or, in the workplace with this addict who may or may not be in recovery. All right? So, any organization can be addictive. Not every addictive organization is addictive everywhere. Primarily where it is not is how healthy you are in doing good self-care. You at least have to tell the truth to yourself. Wait. There's nothing wrong with me. They're crazy. And that's the conclusion I came to. Wait, these people are crazy. I don't have to be crazy with them. All right, so where we started was, I'm the federal compliance officer for this institution for substance abuse and related issues. Did you know that it's a covered disability if you have 1 day of recovery? You're covered under ADA. Any drug at all. Doesn't matter whether it's legal or not. It's a covered disability as long as you're not using. Start using? Okay, no, we can't have that. No person can appear on campus under the influence. They do, but,
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So would the organization like sports, would that be an addictive organization?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I heard about... You're supposed to be in PowerPoint.
Booking trips?
Yeah, the Tamale Festival in